Press.
No, you're gonna get copyright.
Recording in progress.
I catch sight of your form like a slate blue wraith in the seagrass. I'm used to sighting seabirds here, lugubrious storks, cacophonous gulls, dark-bodied cormorants. Which bird you are eludes me. I barely see with my naked eye the shape of a head pressed to a bird's body in this sun-drenched morning. Curlews with beaks like curved wands seem more wonderful than usual. And a flock of terns wheeling up in a low white cloud brings me a moment's pleasure free of concern. A pelican like a clumsy clown lands midday. Rust-colored ducks paddle along an inlet. Egrets dot the marsh, fishing alone. When I glance your way again, you have metamorphosed into a heron at full stature, sheathed in a feathered gown. Cavorting dogs on a beach beyond us don't distract you. Your gaze penetrates the shallows where you wade, slender legs lilting in a dance. I watch your neck stretch as you step cautiously forward, front a lightning thrust of beak underwater. You rebound, a graceful acrobat to perfect standing pose. Delivered from a strictly human viewpoint, I mimic your attentive stance, and with one gentle exhalation, my shoulders relax, my feet press into the earth. Bobby Jean Bishop, welcome to National Her Story Month. Welcome. And I'm Jim Marino. I'll be your host today. If you haven't signed up yet, I'll be keeping this with me. You can come over and sign up. We have a little bit of hitch in the get along today because we have to exit today by 5 o'clock because there's a political thing happening right at 5. So if you don't get to read today, don't be angry at us. Just come back next month and get on the list again. So little housekeeping. The restroom is behind me on your left. Jimmy Collins was my partner, and this is him. He died of sickle cell a few years ago, and he trained me to do this. This is Jimmy Collins right here. That this is a place for all people, all religions, all genders, all colors of skin, all cultures. And he was a Black Panther back in Indianapolis back in the day. And so he would get up at 4 in the morning and he would go cook at a kitchen for children that were going to go to school from all races, not just Black children, but children from all races that were going to go to school hungry. And the Black Panthers, at the height of their existence, they fed 15,000 children a day in our country. Something the government should have been doing. He also helped elders get their medications, and he did clothing drives and food drives in Indianapolis. And so can we show some love for Jimmy Collins, please? If you're a poet today and you want to read, please, 2 poems or 5 minutes. If you're a musician, you're going to have 10 minutes or 2 songs. And I also like to say that our feature is here. Shannon, where are you? It's our feature. And there are some people here that were at Claire de Lune's in the 90s that came to see her sing and play and do her poetry. And so for all you people from the 90s, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. All right, so are you ready for some poetry? Yeah. So I'm going to make sure that you know when this man comes up, he's going to charm you, he's going to amaze you. Do not offer him decaf. This is Chris Stanoa.
No, not today, Mike. I have a sore throat, so go ahead now. Let's do a small one. From where do I come? Where do I go? That will earthly lover love. For I have no beginning, I have no end. My name is love, a lover's friend.
If you came last month, oh yeah, give him some more love, my goodness. San Diego beat poet, California beat poet, United States beat poet, and we love him so much. Last month we had trouble with the Zoom, but we are on Zoom right now, and we are recording. If you don't want to be recorded, don't read. And so this is my genius engineer. This is Alfred Williams. And when this is all over, he's going to save it, and then he'll put it together, and you will be on the internet. And I will be sending that out to you a couple days after this. So our next poet, someone has the sign-up sheet. Would you tell me who number 2 is on there, please?
Yes, it's Alfred M. Williams.
Oh, it's our engineer, Alfred Williams. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. That's the sound of the men working on the chain gang. We were looking for justice, but justice never came. I hear it is sweeter than a lover's kiss this September rain. Equality came around, but it seldom knocked on our door while we busied ourselves on our knees, scrubbing America's floor. Respect came by and politely said no when we reached out our hand with a friendly hello. Dignity was completely missing in action without a single detraction. Need I remind you that this country was built on the backs of our free labor? This country has known our sweat, our blood, and our favor. White babies were suckled on black women's breasts. Industry and nation were catapulted to success. Barbers and porters and butlers and carpenters and blacksmiths, steel workers and cotton pickers and cooks worked as a gift to pull this mighty nation up upon a black back. We gave it its lift. We towed it and cleaned and cut and rifted. We carefully measured, drew, and sifted the magic we call America. We kindly asked for a hand, not a handout, but instead we were given suspicious eyes whenever we tried to move about. All I ever wanted for this country was to be addressed as a man. But with shotgun shells loaded, I find me putting together another far more insidious plan. And then you ask me, why do I complain? And I keep replying because although things are better, there are still too many things that are still the same. And then you tell me that this country has been good to me. And I reply, then why am I still fighting for my equality and my dignity? Need I remind you that we fought in every war and shared with you every danger, and yet some people still treat us like an unruly stranger. We were looking for our promise of the American dream. This red, white, and blue song of thee I sing, this red, white, and blue song of thee I sing, this red and white and blue song, let it ring. But instead we get pushed to the back of the line. And patiently we wait and wait and wait
and are told, now it's not the time. Thank you.
I think he's a neophyte poet. You're not a neophyte, but you're not a neophyte poet. Can we give us more love, please? Could you imagine him writing a script for a movie? Could you imagine him in your movie? Could you imagine him picking actors to be in his movie for that? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine him actually filming the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can imagine that, couldn't we? Well, what's the name of the city?
Sydney.
Sydney, Australia wants him to come and do a seminar on making a movie and writing a script. Hopefully bring some of the actors. And so that's not a neophyte, my friend. Let's give him some more love, please. Vietnam veterans are close to my heart. I'm a Vietnam veteran. And this gentleman was at an air base near Saigon that got shelled every day. Mortars and rockets. He's definitely one of my heroes. He's been a friend of mine for 40 years. This is Bruce Gordon.
Jimmy has walked through many miles with me. Here's something he helped me out with after I lost my wife. Losing Penny to winter. If I speak of the season, then describe the delicate petal of the flower I placed in my wife's hand the hour she passed, it would sound like a haiku as its last petal falls before winter, her last breath. I would not speak of anguish as her bright beauty began to fade, rather the petal lying in decay on the ground. Autumn leaves have abandoned their trees. I am alone.
Poets Grove is one of my favorite places. I don't get to go to it a lot, but this is a person who runs the Poets Grove. It used to be called the Poets Bench. This is Deborah Ramos.
I told you to be ready.
Okay, do you know what I'm gonna read? I think right here.
I told you to be ready.
All right. You got it, you got it. Damn.
I like to make her cuss.
Doesn't take much. Okay, let's see, all right. What made me do it? The day I began the Sundance of all women, I was in a dark, damp restroom at La Jolla Shores. I was 13, gangly, barely budding breasts, not at all ready for what the world expected me to be. It wasn't a glorious moment of becoming, or a deeper understanding of the fresh power I now had. From this moment on, I would suffer the monthly agony of the red-headed grandmother, as my mother called it. I wept, already missing my innocence and the unencumbered freedom of a child. There wasn't a celebration, or mothers or grandmothers or aunties to honor this ancient initiation. Every month I was left alone with my pain. Every month I would curl into the fetal position, left with a hot water bottle to ease my cramps that lit my girl womb on fire. Every month I wore pads, thick as diapers, that cradled my sacred faith. Couldn't wear white anymore, couldn't swim anymore. I felt shame hiding that secret blue box in a brown bag. I did not embrace this metamorphosis. I'd rather stay a caterpillar unaware of the great changes. And back then, there was one brand, one box, one size, one shelf, one brown paper bag. That was the kids. Okay, okay, one more. I worked for over 20 years with special needs students and retired from Westmont High School. Working with all these kids that didn't fit into any other program. And they were mainstreamed into classes, and I would go with them to art classes, drama classes, and dance classes. So this is about one of those students. It's called Spectrum Under the Umbrella. Letters bumpily bunched on the line is bothersome and stabs the boy's sense of order. Crooked glasses slide down his nose, forehead nearly touches the smudged table. Erase, rewrite, retrace the timid marks. Erase, retrace, charcoal dark until the page is covered in a crisscross web of lines and graphite fingerprints. Unfinished angles, desperate sobs, a yellow number 2 battered to a stub. The day thins to a hole in the parted paper. Frayed and disheveled, a backpack pushed deep into the cavern beneath the desk. Hope resets.
Our next poet is gonna have a birthday on March 24th. And the rumor is that him and Jack Benny are both gonna be 39. Chris Ernest Nelson.
Hey, speaker. What do they tell us about ourselves? It's not like a credit score or anything. But they are all those years of treasures, aren't they? Don't forget to take good care of them all. Don't let them rust. Don't let them get covered in dust. Because they're all we have when it's all been said.
Thank you, sir.
I am Chris Ernest Nelson, and this is Still There. It's all still there somewhere. All the bits and pieces of a lifetime that seem so jumbled and uneven. All the moments that once mattered that are now faded and carried away by ambivalent time. It's all still there, hidden in places, in songs, in the smell of the wind, and in the sun that remembers every summer of our youth. While we were so content, we forgot to consider its impossible importance. It's all still there, waiting for a face in the crowd, a voice on the phone, or a dream that wakes me in the early hours before the curtain of distractions falls upon feelings that stay awake while the day sleeps. It's all still there, somewhere. All the laughter of understanding, all the confidence of knowing that friendship is the most important thing a life can make. And it's still there, though you are gone. Thank you. We close with Renaissance. In the sepulchral precincts of the temple ruins, all was silence and shadow. The Holocaust had burned to ash, and the prayers that once rose with the sacred smoke into the nostrils of hostile and capricious gods were answered by demands for suicidal sacrifices, fratricidal follies, and plagues. The prophets of peace, the heralds of redemption, and the messengers of grace were all put to death to prove that immortality was fiction and the supreme power derived from its ability to plunder and hurt. The inner sanctum had been defiled by unbelievers, the high gates breached, and Jerusalem had fallen. As rats and scorpions occupied the Holy of Holies, tangled web and drowsy dust swept the galleries, and the basins for ritual bathing were time dry. The Gospels were wasted by neglect, and wisdom had become an archive of perverse philosophies, and art the sad ruins of a once noble people. What had become of the hands that set the stones, and the genius that painted the ceilings with the gods at play among vestal clouds in celestial light? What had become of the hymns and worship that inspired such noble passions and lifted the hearts of generations of weary, worn need workers? Beneath the drifts of cobweb and dust, silent and reserved, the mystic poetry slumbers in forlorn homes, preserving the legendary achievements of humankind for the day when courageous children will again occupy the remnants of civilization. They will discover how to dream and how to build again. Thank you very much.
Came in late today, we made an announcement that we have to exit the place by 5 today, not by 5:30, so. If you're thinking about reading a poem that's more than a page, please don't do that. We have some people that like to read, and we have a pretty long list today. So please be courteous to the people that are following you. Please remember, it is National Women's Her Story Month. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Olivia Mercedes.
Good afternoon. My name's Olivia. I'm going to do 2 short poems today instead of my usual lengthy ballad. And both of these are about gratitude. The first one is actually an abecedarian poem, which, as most of you know, is simply a poem that's structured where each line of the poem starts with the corresponding letter of the alphabet, which is a fun little exercise. This is thank you. Al Jazeera, Aaron Bushnell, Bisan, communities of color protesting together in solidarity, devotees protesting in alignment with your faith, every single one of the journalists fighting with your lives to document the truth. Gratitude cannot bring anyone back to life, but history will forever honor you for gifting us honest information for the masses. Justice may still be absent, but thanks to you, we know their crimes, which we will loudly continue to condemn on behalf of every martyr and mourner grieving their families massacre after massacre. No one will ever know the depths of your pain, but our objective shall remain to obliterate all forms of oppression in your beloved names. Palestine will be free. As more and more people question this morbid state of dehumanized reality, rallying together in resistance, standing beside each other as human beings. I am thankful for our humanness, for our unification against colonization, for the voices unafraid to speak up, for the witnesses, watermelon emojis, and ways we continue to weed out the xenophobia. Thank you to the youth, the college students, yielding your power to no one. And while the Zionists would love to have the bottom line of a poem like this, the zenith of my gratitude will not be zeroed out by such hate. Today's zeitgeist might not be very zen, but my zeal for the Palestinian people will remain the zest of this piece. Thank you. Woo! Second one, I'll go short, I promise. Is about one of my longtime personal heroes who happens to be here today. So I'm not gonna cry. And so I couldn't pass up the chance to do a public display of gratitude for them. This is called Airhead. It's the early 2000s. I'm sitting in math class playing Tetris on my graphing calculator when another student suddenly enters the classroom. Hey, is Olivia here? Alyssa sent me to get airheads from you. Yes, I quickly reply, abandoning my digital blocks for the strips of sugar I always carried in my bag. I hand them off as they scurry away to save the day. I rest easy, knowing that Alyssa being able to send a messenger meant she wasn't unconscious and would surely be okay. I make a note to myself to refill my airhead supply later that day. Because when your best friend has diabetes, you do what you can to be there for them. Whether it's carrying sugar for when they go low, or whipping out your camera flip phone for when they go a little too high and you find yourself giggling excitedly in the parking lot of an Applebee's. She was my passenger princess. My literal ride or die. At 17, her organs struggled to keep her alive. When airheads wouldn't cut it, I tried to give her my kidney, but minors aren't allowed to be heroes, so I waited and prayed to the gods neither of us believed in, placing my faith instead in her doctors, who wore the real capes, skirting around all the red tape to procure the then illegal stem cells that might save her life. The best day of my high school career was not the last day, but rather the day her prognosis changed. From unlikely to graduate to they're working. We happily turned up the boombox and danced around in AP art class, and while this was just the beginning of her lifetime journey of a life with complications as a person living with diabetes in a capitalist society that thinks people who need insulin should be forced to live in poverty, as if her pancreas secretes money instead of the insulin it needs to keep her body functioning. But the best part of this story is that she is still here. That 20 years later, she is still my best friend. And while she no longer lives close enough to be my passenger princess, she is still my favorite person to giggle with excitedly, to go through all of the lows of life and health. I no longer carry airheads in my bag, but I always carry gratitude in my heart for having you, Alyssa, in my life.
Leah, are you here? Leah? Please give some love for Leah. She's gonna come.
Okay, so, I'm totally struggling with what to read right now, so how's everyone doing, by the way? Well, happy Sunday. I love there's like an ocean of hands over there, it's like, like that one scene in Harry Potter where the reaching about the buzz. Yeah, oh yeah, the wave, I love it, thank you guys, I've been experiencing an interesting time in life lately, which is always fun for poetry. What happens when I go through that is that I end up leaving like kind of like minefields in my poetry for myself, where it's like I forget what I wrote. And I'm like, oh man, is there something like really personal just dropped into this poem? Because I kind of like I always do this. I leave myself too little time to pick something beforehand. So I'm gonna like just hopefully pick something that'll be tame. I think this came from when I went out the other day. Oh yeah. I love going out to the jazz jam. I talk about that a lot. But it's not just the jazz jam. I love going out to Balboa Park. The Cherry Blossom Festival is on now, if you're interested in that. But I absolutely love going out to Balboa Park and kind of speeding off the energy there. And I think this happened out there. Okay, no, we're not reading that. Okay, that I don't know. Let's see. Oh no, actually, I like it. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a longer one, so I think this will probably be, I was thinking about doing a shorter one, but I think this will be my one. This is actually a different one from the mall. I've been hanging out at Fountain Valley Mall a lot. I don't know why, but it's kind of just sometimes I find like I like energies of places and I end up going back there. So I can just walk around. And this one happened the other day. Less little footsteps just inside the mall brick lines. It's a game, Mom. I have to avoid stepping on the lines between the bricks or I lose. Lose what? See, Mom, you just don't get it. Bless dresses, Mom doesn't know about, but your older sister is like, come on, Mom, I saw your prom photos. And Mom's like, you're possibly grounded, but fine, she can have the dress. Blessings on strollers and their tears. Bless being 3 years old, that time can never have enough light in it. Bless drips from the concrete building onto your head. Motherfucker, I just washed my hair this morning. Blessings on gummy octopuses on the mall walkway. That looks tasty. Does the 5-second rule last longer if you have ADHD and experience time at a different rate than most people? Apparently, because we all, including me, know I'm too fucking fast most of the time, except when I'm talking about mothering, baking, and sex. But it's okay. It's a blessing on the way. Blessings on the way you are. Blessings on the way you are is okay. Come here, noogie noogie. Just kidding. I know there's a sensory thing for you with that. Blessings on red skirts with white patterns and their classic cape makeup, old lady hand and leg cross and smile. Blessings on brighter days. Blessings on the days are about to be longer. Summer hours, the sunlight's tee. I'm not going anywhere, bitch. Blessings on nuclear fusion. Blessings on the bright. Blessings on music. Blessings on Avicii. I hope you're resting peacefully. I pray every time I hear Wake Me Up. I hope God lets you listen in. Blessings on makeup and Sephora. Without it, I would be incomprehensible levels of fuck. Blessings on jokes and their escape from the reality we sometimes rather not see but need to. Blessings on not giving a fuck, or at least on learning to fake it well. Blessings on you are listening, reading. Blessings on me for you. Hopefully, like a handshake is best when each person kindly and thoughtfully considers how much force to use. Blessings on running as fast as you can into everything that terrifies you alive. Like near-death experiences are almost universally reported to cause a jump in will to live and engagement in life. Blessings on being alive. Every year, I'm like, am I going to be dead this year? And I'm always not. It's cool. It's like a show that keeps getting renewed, and you're like, okay, they're keeping it fresh, keeping it new. Sometimes it's a train wreck, but I'm still watching. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe bad TV shows need to turn around, just like the rest of us. I was something very different once. Kind of scary, honestly. Like I like handing out wet wipes and handwritten poems instead of shouting. Blessings on trips up and down the stairs. If I don't have a gym membership, I've got to show my ass and thighs who's boss somehow. Blessings on hopes of maybe one day being made love to. Google autocorrect wanted that to say made like to. Fuck off, Google. I mean made love to. Maybe someday, maybe. I really do believe God tries to give us things we want for innocent reasons and to love other people. I hope so. Blessings on you. I tried carrying the weight of the world, sings Avicii, but I only have 2 hands. Blessings on your journeys without ends in sight, but faith is a fun game. It's God's favorite. Blessings on reckless hope. Blessings on dreams so big and lofty, they're crazy, daffy, concerning to those who love you, because we're all being told a living wage is impossible. So why not dream why not dream big if they're saying fuck the basics too? Blessings on jewelry store conversations with a guy in his late 20s who's got a small budget but a beautiful woman and a lot of love. God give us tables to set and invite people to. I'd like a house with a chimney always steaming with kitchen smells so the neighbors will always know when they're welcome. It will be always. God, deep down, we really do want simple things, all of us. Blessings on all of us. Times are about to get fucking weird. Blessings on scam likely calls. When you answer for the hell of it, the operator on the other side thinks they're speaking to Liz because that's what their spam call Rolodex said the name attached to this number was, but my voice apparently sold it. Fuck yes. Blessings on oblivious and possibly drunk scammer call center worker. Blessings on gender transition. Holy fuck, this is actually sort of working. Blessings on spring. It's finally here. Who has their sandwich order in the victim? Thanks.
You ever go to this poet's house, you can see that he's a master of construction, he's a master of architecture, and he's also a master of poetry and song. This is Jack Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the tapestry of all this wonderful poetry being stitched together, it's just a name. It's just a name. Hello, family, I love you all. I appreciate that so much. This is, if I believe. If I believe, could a human force heaven into or out of existence, using the solemn belief as a tool to alter reality through their faith? Simply a seed, the spilling of I believe, but could it be based on how many or how few agree? If changing one's truth may alter the gods, consider this faith carefully. To be at peace with the universe, I rejoice in not knowing all the answers. Thank you. This is the color of tenderness. Color me with shallow showers of light, pausing, I gladly wait. There's a kind of strength that comes in the waiting, in the understanding of the pause. Rush on ahead if you must, but I see colors collecting, and I feel that I must stay to the morning. The sunrise, all that glorious shine, will it heal me? I'm not sure, but the view from this mountain high will tell me soon. Will I see a city fallen, buildings crushed to the ground? Or have they done greenery and flowers, beautiful glowing colors, lovely gardens? But if blood is flowing as a river red, and green trees are all gone, will the blue sky be enough? Will the yellow sunlight embrace my soul? Twilight has now vanished. It seemed like all the stars and the moon have disappeared, and I see colors from over the horizon. Some kind quite strange, and it seems that it is truly a new world. And I must brace myself as I wait for colors of tenderness. Thank you.
That's Jack Stewart Smith, giving some more love to you. Our next poet is published in the San Diego Poetry Annual in the Native American chapter and in the Veterans chapter. He's a Vietnam veteran. He's my neighbor, my brother, Michael Turner Ortega.
Just another barefoot poet. I wrote this last month, well, 3 weeks ago here at the Space Bar. So I want to thank Chris Benoit, Leah, and Joe Malash, not here today, for helping me. I found some prompts for some of their words. Angelic dissolution. On the fragility of it all. Taking off on fire, landing with an empty last line, still able to raise the roof. Voice of verse with your poet's heart, open-minded, holds the sun low to the horizon. Waking up from hibernation, the color of your sleepy eyes that have been lost over the years. Past memories, compassion delivered by flow, forged into a poem with much more than the 5 senses. Your breath's peacefulness rewritten over and over time. Energy, vibration, touch is all we have. Unfamiliar words bring you gratitude, perhaps. An idea dives off a cliff, just out of reach, finds the right coordinate, young at heart, heartbroken with raw courage, non-deliberate spoken word trickster, falling can be fun, with curt and silly lines in the fog. But what good would that do? Finds kindness in the end. all he does is kick up the dust with each step.
Are you ready for the feature?
Yeah.
Shannon Bates is a musician and writer originally from Fair Oaks, California.
Oh, I know that.
She earned a Bachelor of Music Composition from Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, Washington, and a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, Fiction from the Rainier Writing Workshop, also at PLU. Shannon plays saxophones and some flute in a range of styles, including big band jazz, funk, soul, indie rock, Latin jazz, blues, Afrobeat, musical theater, and classical. Is that all? Her prose and poetry have been featured in several small publications, and she is currently working on a companion album for one of her novels in progress. She lives in San Diego with her two cats, Olive and Jade, surrounded by the color green. And as a regular at Claire de Lune's, I know there's some of you who are really anxious to hear Shannon Bates. Come on up.
I would have brought my music stand, but I didn't think that. I'm used to the mic being at my sax, so, but we won't need the mic for my sax. I mostly write fiction and play music. But over most of my life, I've also been writing poetry. Percussion. So there's gonna be a range, over, most of the stuff is gonna be over like 30 years. From, college on, so. This one was written over 20 years ago, so you can imagine me in my 30s instead of 50 years old, that would be great. Watch my mouth as I speak. Keep your focus on these lips, full of words, full with flesh. Think of how my mouth would feel on yours, wet and open and willing. Think of how my lips would taste between your teeth, against your cheekbone, across your neck, in a soft sweep of in between. Watch my mouth as I think, my mind whirs, while my lips pout and fidget and open without sound. Just because my mouth stops, it doesn't mean that the thoughts have ceased. I study the way your eyes blink slowly, drugged by the movement of my lips and dizzied by the quietness of my mouth. Don't look away. I'll lose you if you look away. Think of me as a mouth with a mind, a thinker with lips to invite you in. With this, you will come and stay, but let your eyes fall, and I'll lose you forever. Funny story about that one. Chris Benoit, I owed him $5. And I wasn't planning on going to Fairland to read, but I thought, oh, I have to bring this $5 to Chris. And so I came wearing my soccer clothes and felt really self-conscious about the fact that I was dressed for soccer. And so wrote this on the spot because people were saying, you have to read, you're here, you have to read. I wrote this on the spot in order to get people to not look at the clothes, but look at my face and and as I said, I play soccer. This one is called football. She watched as he moved, his strong legs flexing and tightening like a dancer's. The sinew behind his knees pulled taut while the green plastic turf squeaked beneath his indoor cleats. Pushing his palm against the curve of the wall, he began his reign of the floor. Her teammates challenged him with a jab and a tackle, attempting to learn the music of his feet. The men and women lunged and reached after him, grasping for a hold on his elusive body. But with a quick redirection of his steps, each player fell out of rhythm with his stride. He moved on toward her, into her zone, manipulating the ball as if it obeyed him with a taming tug of an invisible string back to his foot, always within reach. She watched. She timed her entrance and mimicked his moves with a cadence of 3 quick steps and 2 long. She leapt into his samba and matched his tempo, mirroring him as he danced. She felt his slick muscles against hers, allowing her to join him for a moment or two.
Thank you.
But then she took the lead. With one swift twist, she coaxed the ball from his command. She shielded her prize and danced away alone, victorious and goal-bound. That sparked a lot of conversation in my poetry class at Grossmont College. It was kind of interesting. It's interesting to hear people's feedback to your work when you're like, no, that's not what I meant. But what they heard is what they got from it. So, you have to just let that be. This next one is called Leaving. I stayed until the train's cry came wailing through your song. It reminded me of leaving, and so I did. So many trains have left my station while I stand in inevitable rain, huddling at the frayed hem of my jeans. I can't ever get that drenching sorrow out of my pant legs, weighing me down, keeping me there, waiting for the next train. Sometimes they don't come. Sometimes I sleep there, shivering with my thighs spread on the lonely benches. It's always cold, always feels like fiberglass against my skin while I wait for who knows what. I feel like I've been sitting here for years now. The trains do come, but I don't ride. I've got nowhere to go, and I've gotten so used to not going anywhere that it feels like home here at the windy in-between. Here, where so many roads cross beneath the sigh of Amtrak's and between the heartbreaking cries that always signal departure. Yes, some are arriving, but this is not a final destination. This is not home to anyone but me. A nice place to visit, a postcard town with no room at the inn, no rooms at all to take in travelers. And with all that leaving, I've come to know the schedules. I know the far-off whisper of a train coming before the whistle blinks. I know about being left, and so I leave. But I never really do. You'll see me on the benches with a far-off look in my eyes, a look that seeks home. I know. I don't know what that is. I have everything set up in themes here, so come in.
I'm sorry, that's the Zoom, I
Okay.
apologize.
That's right. Come in. This next one
No, it works.
is called, I have written this story several ways over the years, many years. I probably will write the story until the very end. This one happens to be a poem, but I've written it in a couple of short stories as well. At least 3 versions have been published. Someday, maybe this guy will read one of these. Done. I remember I had no voice. In my fright and confusion, I had grown weak, but I still hear his words. I know what you want. Guess what? You're broken. Isn't it amazing what your body can do? But my responses stayed behind my lips, trapped by fear, but I don't want this. Broken is a good word for how my pride and my courage seem to be. I hate my body for this reason right here. Why couldn't I speak? I remember thinking that I had a chance to flee, but that I didn't know what I would tell my mother. And my shame for not leaving, together with my mother's adoration of this fumbling truth, kept me silent in this trap for months too long. I wish someone would have told me that I did have a voice, and that this real life nightmare was the perfect occasion in which to use it.
Yeah. What's
This is one of the more recent pieces that have been,
I can't hear you. Go ahead.
they're
What do you-
untitled, but they're kind of maybe works in progress, I'm not sure. This is on the same theme as the last one, kind of a different perspective, many, many years later.
Yeah.
It has never surprised me that my memory inserts several people in the room when I know for a fact that it was just the 2 of us. These witnesses were there in my mind, judging and not defending or protecting me as I had hoped. That bedroom, not his, but his grandparents', had mirrored sliding doors on a closet next to the bed. When he finally gave in to my refusal, after several attempts and a blackout on my part, there were at least 4 of us in that room. All of us were guilty in a way, but my guilt was only imagined, like the several witnesses. I've written a few different poems and pieces for family members, and this next set is going to be for different family members. This one starting with my uncle, who unfortunately died within a month after my grandpa. And it is unexpected. Withstand. Dinner with you roared. Nimble words flying like a juggler's torches, twirling from tongue to tongue. My attention would wander from the plate before me as my ribs ached in delight. Laughter would leak out from the corners of my eyes and emanate from my wide cheeks. I feel the universe rumble now as I walk alone through the night. This time the ache burns and the tears on my face sting with the tangy task of remembering what was. You slipped away from us during these poison months, and I walk now with the moon, half full and tarnished. She whispers to me, reminding me of how deeply you are loved and how brilliantly your star shines in this night sky. This next one is for my grandpa, who was the one who died shortly before my uncle. His name was Robert, like my dad's name was Robert. My dad went by Bob. But my grandma called him Boomer. Boomer. The swish of palms against knuckles, alternating, worrying hands like brushes against a snare drum, keeping time with the tails. Your voice was a string bass, melodic and soulful, steady and passionate. I feel your words against my ribcage now, weaving threads somewhere deep inside me or all around me. Now you are among silent listeners who welcome you back into their arms, and you are with me, the ink that feeds my pen with the soul of a storyteller. As next one is for my grandmother on my mother's side, so the opposite of these, the previous two. My grandma was Irish. My mother was born in Ireland, in Belfast, but they both had the gift of the gab. Grandma. We would arrive late in the day after a long drive through the dusty and unappealing center of California. You would greet us with a cigarette, a kiss, and a story about your neighbors around the corner of the park. Grandpa would arrive soon after, wheeling gingerly through the narrow driveways, sturdy basket leading his bicycle and weighing down the front end with a simple toolbox. The neighborhood handyman, he was quiet and lean. We would wait as he settled in to hear his leather jacket squeak while he reached for his comb. He would smooth his fine hair down the sides of his head and put the comb away just before the jacket squeaked again in the reach for his harmonica. You would set a record upon the old player and draw the needle across to rest upon the vinyl. Mom and Dad would sink into couches while Eric and Vanessa climbed upon bar stools. I was restless. I watched the ribbons of smoke from your cigarette and Dad's, twisting scars into the music of the room. Watch, I would call, as I turned a cartwheel, then a round off, as I had been practicing in my gymnastics class. Mom had even allowed me to wear my pink leotard for the performance. My heels would thump against the thin floor, sending the record needle into a startled leap back a few measures. Careful, Mom would warn, and I wondered how I could possibly tone down my excitement. Your stories would not skip a beat, and we would continue to hear about working at Sears, living in Ireland, sharing lunch with your friends who lived 3 homes down. Now, the cigarettes have been abandoned long ago, and Grandpa has been gone 10 years or so, but the stories are there, tucked into 2 words, and shining in your eyes, and pouring from your smile. These days, I sit quietly to hear. No tumbles, no pink leotards, no skipping records. I am listening in between the words, studying your face, and learning from old letters. I still show off a little with updates about my music and my writing, but mostly I sit still and allow you to teach and inspire me. The last one is for my dad, or this last one is set. It's for my dad. At the time, he was still alive. He was still alive at the time, and he had a den in our house that was set off from the rest of the bedrooms. And it was kind of a private place for people to take phone calls. This is in the 70s and 80s when we had a super long cord and you could stretch it from the kitchen into the other room. Yeah, anyway. So in this den was where my dad kind of had everything that was his, that was private. Room of secrets. I remember this room of secrets, the wall of books, the jars of coins, the chair that squeaked as you turned and rocked. I used to look through the books, favoring the older yellowing ones, and I would leaf through with my little fingers following the paths which my father's hands had worn. There was even a Bible in this room, far out of my reach. Above the highest shelf and gathering dust with the trophies. I would sit in my father's chair as I spoke on the phone, straining to be as still as I could so as not to let the person on the other line hear my meaning and shift me. It was a room of secrets because it housed all the private conversations which had to be transferred from the busy kitchen phone to this one. And it was a room of secrets because it was full of hidden clues to my father's world. How could I find this room so sacred and full of comfort for me when it also gave shelter to the side of my father from which I was silently protected? As I said, I write more fiction than poetry. I'm going to read a couple of super short flash fiction pieces that were published in the City Fiction 101 years and years ago. The first one, is called Since You Left. Since you left, there have been bears in the yard. I hear them out there in the pitch black night, lumbering through the grass, leaning against the wooden fence and snorting at the garden. I'm trapped in here, surrounded now by a space emptier than I could have imagined. I'm not sure how the bears got there and if the neighbors are aware of their presence, but they nudge at the windows while I sleep, and they sigh as I lie stiff in my bed, staring at the ceiling, hoping to pass as insignificant. I think I'm succeeding. And this, another flash fiction piece, kind of segues into my next section, which is about my cancer journey. And this I wrote far before I was diagnosed with cancer. So I kind of had a different vision of what it was like. Hammond Blue. Hammond Blue wanted to be an old man when he grew up. No one ever told him he couldn't. I wanted to be an oak tree, as tall as the sky. I had a long way to go. Hammond was the kind of sick that doesn't get better. I told him to meet me in the field when his doctors told him it was time to go. He crossed his heart and promised, but he didn't make it. He left without saying goodbye. I waited, lying alone in the grass, curled up and dreaming I was a tree. And as I said, I went through a cancer journey a few years ago. Thankfully, I'm cancer-free today. This is just a PSA to get all that, all the testing that you need in order to make sure that you are healthy and you are not harboring some little passenger. But this was, I wrote this directly after I had to colonoscopy that found the mass. The day of the procedure, I shaved my legs for the first time in nearly a year, so that whatever mess was found inside wouldn't simply be dismissed as more evidence of the outer neglect. There were a lot of things that I went through during all of the chemo and the radiation and the 2 surgeries that I had, and your body changes a lot. So this is kind of a note on some of the changes I went through. I've lost my identity to cancer. I look in the mirror and see someone else, yes, eyes more tired, flesh fattier, certainly older by maybe even 10 years. But there is a more literal identity loss that has occurred. My fingerprints are worn smooth. The flesh there had become extremely dry and started to crack after the 3rd, or was it before, infusion of chemotherapy drugs, supplemented by oral chemo. I was no longer able to access my phone apps by thumbprint login. But now, nearly 2 months later, the skin on my fingertips is smooth and healthy, maybe too smooth, no whorls. I am no longer myself. Wow. The same change, but a different perspective. Last year, as the poison slithered through my veins under the guise of a cure, the ridges slid from my fingertips. Worn smooth, my identity paused, searching for the answer to cancer's question of who I would become. Someone wiser, more health conscious, better equipped to assist others in their journeys, nobler. My body faltered, began to fail. I lost track of time and nourishment and strength. Somehow I kept going, despite my foggy brain and weakened will. As I turned a corner and followed the path to recovery, my fingertips raised their prints again, but they could not remember the patterns just right. I became someone new, someone who did not know the words to the old tunes, or the rhythms to the once familiar steps. I became a shell of someone who never knew the passions I once lived for. Someone I quite possibly hate.
3 minutes.
Okay. When I lived in Sacramento during the time, treatment, which is Fairbanks is my hometown in that area. So this is touching on that. When you return to live in your hometown after almost 30 years, and the town is still familiar, but your body becomes unrecognizable. When the hospital where you were born becomes the place where the cancer is found. When the hospital where your dad dies becomes the place where you are cured. It took so long for you to love yourself. How quickly that disappeared. And these last four, I guess, are haiku. The last two in here are the same haiku, but different versions. Rhythms of machines in the key of survival, breathe in and breathe out. Walls of ocean blue painted to calm the patients swimming into health. This, my flesh and bones, the only body I've known, a stranger to me. After the cancer, this body, this flesh, my own, recognized no more.
Shannon Bates. Look more like this.
Congratulations on being cancer free. So we have this election coming up in November. And Joe Malash and I want to do 4 voter education poetry events between now and November. The first one will be April the 27th, that's a Saturday. We're going to be at Malcolm X Library from 3 to 5:30. And we're going to have Chris Manoy will be there, Michael Turner Ortega will be there, Joe and I, Dolores Fisher will be there, Pilar Rodriguez Aranda from Tijuana will be there. We're trying to have Reggie Gaines also be with us. And so since we are recording this, if you're on Zoom right now and you're watching this, Reggie's phone number was disconnected or is not in service. So if you know Reggie, tell him to call Jim at 760-802-2449. We need his voice. He is the Grand Slam champion at the cafe in New York City. God, I'm slipping. Help me on that.
New Yorican?
New Yorican Cafe. He was a Grand Slam winner there. He is a playwright, and he's almost won a Grammy. He's almost won a Tony. He did win a Tony. He won a Tony Award for Bring On the Funk, right? And so we would love Reggie. If you're watching this, call me. Because what we want to do is we're gonna have poetry that addresses some of the issues in the election with verse. And we also want to have speakers. Pilar's gonna talk about the two parties in Mexico, how that worked, when there was one party and how that worked, and compare it to the United States. And so we'll be having a combination of left brain and right brain that day and in future poetry events. And I just really like to give Shannon some more love for that performance. So please remember, we have to wrap up probably about 10 to 5. We have to be out of here by 5. So please keep your poems short. And remember, we probably have we have a lot of people that want to read, so please be respectful to them. Cora, are you here? Cora, please come on up. Let's give her some really warm second Sunday love. And please remember, have a poem that you're going to read, be ready to read it when you come up. All right?
Whoa. So again, starting to recall my memory before, because I have so many vocabulary words that I just kind of threw in there, but I like easy poems. So this is called Plundered Porridge. It's recipe, so I'll give you the recipe. Articulations of an Amazon artery babbling like a bubbling beck. A culmination of crest-felled creeks dawdling, drifting beneath a deck. Erratic egrets enveloped by an estuary, flowing fresh from fluttering flying fonts, gaily glide beside Gabby Golden Eyes, who haphazardly hide, honk, and haunt. Innuendos of an impartial, ill-kept inlet, jovially jostling like a dainty, jaundiced jetty by knocking and nodding with health-like kisses, lapping, lolling, and licking the lower levee. Miles of murky marshland with mammals bathed in mud, noticeably nestled between nonsensical neon noise, obstructed by orange oblong obstacles of opposing origin. And preposterously predisposed to purgator poise. The quality and quantity of questionable corals regarding repetitive ravaging of riparian remains should simultaneously sicken and steal societal spotlights. The thrones of thick-headed turncoats threaten total terrain. Unanimous is the unconditional understanding of ultimatum. Values of verdant valleys is voluminous, but villains value vaults. Watch as warning whistles get washed out by wealthy wasps, weathering their wallets whose xytolamous nature and xenophobia get xeroxed and xenografted with xanthosis. Yapping and yurring for yesteryear only yields only yellow lip, yes. Yields only yellow lip, yes. While zillions of zooidic zoology zero into zones with zilch. The news tells us to shut up and eat our plundered porridge, yet the recipe is foul and filled with only bold ignorance. And the recipe is bubbling crest-felled creeks beneath erratic fluttering golden eyes, and jaundiced kelp and marshland mammals nestled between preposterous quantity of repetitive thick-headed turncoats. Is voluminous, but watch warning, yields only 0. Silch. Thanks.
Well, I heard that Charlie sells seashells by the seashore and hit the peppers. Please come back. How about Mr. Dean Williams? Are you here, sir? Please come up.
Right now, I'm feeling very moved by your being cancer free, because a dear friend of mine just died, got metastatic breast cancer. And I don't know why it's hitting me right now, but it is, okay? And so, okay, it's fitting that I'm going to read this poem about my favorite tree, Balboa Park. I am a sad tree. All I've ever wanted to is to be. All too often, all I get is respect. Why? Because I cannot defend myself. Would you like if somebody carved their name in your skin? Not one, but a multitude? Look at me. I used to be beautiful. I used to be happy. I used to look forward to greeting people. Now I wrote. I am ashamed. I have been carved up and mutilated and made ugly. So enjoy your day. So I'm sitting in front of Costco, watching people coming into Costco, observing. So this is an observation. Women have purses. Men have pockets. I sometimes wish I had a purse, because I got stuff to carry too. You know? A man purse, a backpack, a satchel, a handbag, a fanny pack. No way, not me. Pockets are doing just fine for me, thank you very much. I'm not one of those guys. I'll just get new pants with plenty of pockets. I don't need a stinking purse. Have you seen my keys?
Hey, Jack, is my volume second from the bottom? Thank you. Mic check, test 1, 2, mic check. Mic check, test 1, 2, can you hear that? Can we give a very warm welcome, this is his first time here, very warm welcome to Brother Amin.
Hey guys doing?
All right, good. How are you?
So I wanted to do a poem. This poem is called Praise the Most High. You can't hear me? Can you hear me well? Yeah. Okay. What happened to the mic check? Okay. Oh, Tyler. Okay. Explain this piece. Okay, so this is a poem. You know, a little bit political, but not too much. It's more lyrical rather than whatever it is. Okay, so this goes. This is called Chatterbox. Okay. You drink a lot of water if you talk too much. But this goes. So much chatter to state the obvious. Novelty nonetheless. Beat in their chest, pumped up with pride, cardiac arrest, quest of continents and see the remains of the monuments, racy consciousness, common sense tells you the dominance and pigmentation. No correlation. Allah created nations and tribes, so relations can thrive, not to despise beauties in the eyes beholder. Solar from the soul controller, racing for exposure. The more closer, we are the culture cultivates closure. So much hate trying to escape the smolder. Hot out the holster, bare arms, drizzy, this ain't your Walt Disney Jungle Book. Halfway crooks are still shook, ready. Running through the city, purple haze, eyes misted, minds 50, 5150, the guy 50, concrete pissy. Rises is privatized, what poverty divides a prominent by policy. To no surprise, but how to oblige the hierarchy, survival's key, just to die, there's a fee and cost of living. Sit back and listen, here's the wisdom pimping. To be a boss, you got a boss with him. What sense of crime blaming on the system? Allah sufficient for the lost victims. Driving through the Holocaust, live broadcasting on the town, live vision, back on a mission. So many dead on arrival, executive decision. Malcolm at the window with the rifle for those who stifle, witness the turn of the tides. See blood red like a menstrual cycle. What separates the man from the title? Riding the wave. What's worse than being a slave is the illusion of being free. Preparing for the grave, meanwhile onto the T. Waiting on Allah's decree, knowledge is key, baby. What you achieve is driven by your belief. So long as you get off your seat, we gotta eat, bring the heat to the street. Come up off it, oh, we take it for free. Hey, So much chatter to state the obvious. You get one more verse? One more verse?
Yeah.
Okay. So much chatter to state the obvious. Novelty, nonetheless. Beat in their chest, pumped it with pride, cardiac arrest. Question: who fucked the bill for the oppression? Even beasts in the field getting killed for the transgression. Front line, harboring aggression. By any means can and will be used as a weapon. Lethal, clocking that first 48. Guess we're coming for dinner. Singing Portier. That's right, you triggered. Here to demonstrate. Push the envelope now, the longer you can and wait. Burden of the brave, armored in the faith. Death before dishonor, that's the karma in your face. Cities is ablaze, why you is amazed. The hate you gave only set the stage. Tatted on your chest, embedded in the flesh. Make it manifest, now we getting stretched. This is not a test, the world in the mess. The tribe has arrived, but we still on a quest, Lord. So much chatter to state the obvious. Thank you, that's mine.
Reggie, if you're watching this, look out. This brother's gonna come back. Thank you for coming. Hope we see you again. Really like that a lot. Donna is a professor at San Diego State, and she comes to my classes. I can't call her my student because she's a lot smarter than me. This is Donna Castaneda. Yes, it is. You're a really amazing writer.
Oh, okay, so let me see. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Always have a problem with the voice thing, but anyway, let me. The first poem I'm going to read is about it's called The Dragon of Borrego Springs. Have you all seen that dragon?
Like a lizard, right? Is it a lizard?
No, there might be some lizards too. There's all sorts of creatures out there. But it's a giant dragon. I encourage you to go see it. It's really cool. But anyway, let me go ahead and get started. Okay, The Dragon of Borrego Springs, California. Do you remember red glass dragon etched in the lid of a small gold box? Lost long ago, but I see you glowing in the palm of my hand still. Here now, a desert serpent, teeth giant and metallic. Lizards and scorpions gaze at your mammoth head. I reach up to caress your rusty neck. Body loops of constant undulation across the sand, forever trapped in stillness. Only at night do you lift into the air, flying across celestial blackness to comfort grieving stars, red giants like you, in the twilight of their lives. Okay. This other one, it's a short one. I know we're running out of time, but let me just say this is a poem. It's dedicated to a person, a very good friend of mine that has now, he's no longer with us. But anyway, it's called Postcard to Jonathan. Dear Jonathan, have you been able to find another condo? One with wall space on which to hang your beloved Persian rugs, with no dark rooms? Is Gustava, your mini dachshund, with you again to provide good company through the alone days? I didn't find out you had died until a year later. You could have easily been traveling to Guatemala City, Toronto, or Ecuador, always looking for a place to belong. I finally laid out the prayer rug you gave me, but I don't pray. The potted ficus benjamina you brought over before you left is still alive. When I step on the fallen and dry leaves, they crunch. The sound is how you might say to me, hey, I'm back. I didn't leave. Really? Thank you.
Our next poet is also a veteran. He comes to my poetry workshops for veterans, and I cannot teach someone to write like this man writes. This is John Antonoff.
Check. Once in the trash, I get all of that. Once in the trash, once in the fruit drawer of a refrigerator to keep it fresh, I guess. Once I wasn't thinking, just thinking someone else. I tried one once in rice oven, could it be? 5:44 a.m. it read. Just before I breathed in deep and said a prayer, mindfully prepared a day, a numbered day. How many left? How many left? I can't. I used to say I can't. But I can go on thinking deeply. I did that once, put it down. Naturally, I put it down and for some happy time, lost track. Could it be I yearn nostalgically for the way it used to be? The cord. Again, the twisted cord to reach from one location to the cupboard, then cereal table, stove, and finally to the bathroom where I could almost close the door. No one lost a phone screwed to a wall. I took my pants off once. No, wait. I guess I did that twice or more. Was that fun? Think. Last night, the hungry rain. A large abanigas put in a bag with soup and rode my bike along a bumpy road. I did that once. The plastic bag did not break, but the moose ball killed my phone. I stopped to know the beat in the pillow somewhere's got to be. Terrapin bark, see. Did all of that once in the drawer on top of the shelf. Check the laundry desperately. Methodically, I don't see. I need new sheets. Filthy. There it is. My phone, 7:44 a.m. Reunited with the phone, but not my own. I need a nap, but before, let me make the bed and have it both ways again. Thank you. That was a section of a piece of work. Thank you for that.
Alistair, are you ready? Alistair McLeod, give him some love.
You've been all so kind about my singing, and I did bring a song to sing. But first, I want to explain why I began my presentation last time I was here, shouting out a line from Macbeth. Sleep no more! Macbeth doth murder sleep. Now, those of you who know Macbeth, probably do, that's the beginning of a great praise of the virtues of sleep, which knits up the rattled sleep care. And I'm here to tell you, it ain't time to sleep, people! We're in danger. My nephew likes to make trouble. He's threatening to join the Satanic Temple. I don't know if you know what that is. It's sure satirical. But I won't pay. But I can go. He texted me, what'd you think of the State of the Union and the comedy show after? And I said, comedy show? Are you talking about Ms. Kitchen Table from Alabama? So white she could sell Clorox? As for the State of the Union itself, I'd have to say it was a relief when he came out swinging. Will it be enough to keep Lord Voldemort in his cage? We really don't know. And it's tough. That's the best applause I've ever had. Got time to sing?
Better hurry up.
Okay, right up. You're all gonna know this and you're welcome to join in on the chorus. It's interesting how dated and not dated this song is at the same time. Come gather round people wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that it's soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming, or you'll sink like a stone. For the times they are changing. Writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. For the losers now will be later to win, for the times they are changing. Come, senators, congressmen, oh, I wish, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who is stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are changing. Come, mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand, for the times they are changing. The line is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, so gone. And the first one now will later be last, for the times they are changing.
We don't have too much time left, and I'd like to get the last four poets up here because they came here to read. So one poem, please, and please let it be short so everybody can come up. Anitra Carol Smith, please come up. Anitra.
Let me try and make it really quick. But the thing is, I can't make up my mind. I have two stories to tell you, but I'm only going to tell you one. Don't jump on me, Jim. And one is about, my son told me, about holding the heart of a living person in his hand during medical school. The other is something about inclusion and love. And I wrote a whole verse for you, you poets. So one's a song, one's a poem.
Your choice.
Living heart. The heart. Okay, how many vote for the poem about the living heart? How many vote for the song? I'll save the song. I worked on it like a fiend in January, so I'd be ready for January or February 11th when we didn't meet, and then I couldn't come, so I don't know if you'll ever hear the Valentine song. Okay. Your heart in my hand. Maya Angelou said, be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Bypass surgery. The paralyzed heart sits on ice. like a red cumulus. Its owner sleeps while his blood spins through a machine. Above the heart, illuminated from above, colors bend over it. A cardiac surgeon, 2 surgery residents, 2 postdoc fellows, 2 operating room nurses, a bypass machine technician, and a very new medical student. The surgeon gestures to the student and asks him to put his hand under the heart to lift it up so he can reach under to give new life to an artery. In this blood sacrament, every heart beats in the same color.
Kathy Crone, are you still here? Kathy Crone, come on up, one point. Give her some love, please. My job. Let me just up here.
Thank you.
Because I want to write like molten earth expelling from a volcano, like pummeling, whispering ocean waves. I want to dance like an ocelot weaving through the forest, like a tribal village celebrating. I want to sing like a lute in the birth of a new theater, like a ghostly Celtic vocalist.
All right, David Legenhorst, Navy veteran, come on up.
Amy.
Thanks, Jim. Well,
Appreciate it. I'm not gonna read anything of mine today. I was one of the people in this book that we wrote in January of 2021, or 2020, yeah, 121. And we said the end of an era. God, I hope we didn't make a mistake. Anyway, this is from a friend of mine, Fill Me with Birds, Scott Berry and Daniel McGinn. And this is called For the Crows. I live in a suburb. The crows in my neighborhood seem monogamous. Generations dwell in the same tree, but share power lines, telephone wires with neighbors. Squirrel trapping is a family activity like pickleball or a board game. It's the type of thing your family might do to pass time on a holiday visit, or a birthday party. There used to be one old crow in a diseased tree a few blocks from my house. I never saw that bird with any other birds. When I walked my dog under his tree, he'd always hop up and down and caw at us, and then follow us down the street, flying from one tree to the next, yelling at us, cussing at us, really. Then one day he wasn't there. It wasn't long after that his tree died. Barrel-chested crows live at the truck stop in Barstow. They look like they've been working out. Their beaks are extra large with a rough sheen like sea mussels. Their eyes glint like newly minted black coins. Their wings look like obsidian leaves when they spread them, and they can be mistaken for turkey buzzards when they slowly circle their prey. IKEA crows are tailgate party crows, living on meatballs, chicken tenders, cigarette butts, and French fries. The ones you saw, did they look like the bird on the Grateful Dead's Wake of the Flood album label? Did they look happy? So happy that they didn't have to fly to get off the ground? I saw them too. In Isla Vista in 1974. New Riders opened that show, and Jerry Garcia sat in on the pedal steel guitar.
Nice.
Vote, 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 vote. Don't let this happen.
Anitra, John Kingsmill is also a flute player. I met him at not a Steve Cowett, but at a John Fox workshop. And he's quite a performer. This is John Kingsmill.
This is for the often maligned millennials and all the rest of the young people. To brave young souls, I am old. You are standing on my shoulders, as every generation does. Your weight wakens me, alerts me to some burden you are showing me. Yet I have not the eyes you have to the horizon you see. Where did I fall victim to olden ways? I find fault with you instead of me. You carry new stories in your heart, stories of freedom and justice, of a now lived life. I call you irresponsible and lazy, unreliable and selfish, superficial and distracted. All those things and more that touch deep into me. So I cannot bear your weight as you stand on my shoulders, seeing across the marshes and the mud, to the light breaking on the horizon. But as I understand what you see, my shoulders start to broaden. I stand taller and sense a glimmer and hear rumors of a new horizon. Your horizons and your master. And my shoulders broaden more, opening my heart and carrying new stories too. And liven to carry you on.
John was hard hit by the COVID, and at one point I saw him looking very skeletal. Thanks for your comeback. Thanks for coming today. Give him some love, please. Well, one lead time, we have this tradition here that if you want to talk to a poet and know, what your influences or where do you go to open mic and that kind of stuff. But when to leave time for that, because we do have about 15 minutes before 5 o'clock. But go ahead and do that. I'm going to do the last poem now. But please let the owners set up for their next event. They want to start preparing for that at 5. This is a poem. This is National Women's Her Story Month. And I had to read this to you to close today. This is Muriel Rukeyser. And this is called, I lived in the first century of world wars. I lived in the first century of world wars. Most mornings I would be more or less insane. The newspapers would arrive with their careless stories. The news would pour out of various devices, interrupted by attempts to sell products to the unseen. I would call my friends on other devices. They would be more or less mad for similar reasons. Slowly I would get to pen and paper, make my poems for others unseen and unborn. In the day I would be reminded of those men and women, brave, setting up signals across vast distances, considering a nameless way of living of almost unimagined values. As the lights darken, as the lights of night brighten, we would try to imagine them, try to find each other, to construct peace, to make love, to reconcile, waking with sleeping, ourselves with each other, ourselves with ourselves. We would try by any means necessary, to reach the limits of ourselves, to reach beyond ourselves, to let go the means, to wake. I lived in the first century of these wars. I love you all, and there's nothing you can do about it. John Edmonds will be with us in April. I apologize to him for what happened with June, and he agreed that he would be our teacher for National Poetry Month. We'll see you next month. Take care.